Harry's Wife, Part 104.76, Her Infidelity. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I have explained to you in numerous videos that infidelity is common with narcissists. The reasons for this are that we act with a sense of entitlement. We do what we want, with whom we choose, and however we so please ourselves. We have no sense of accountability. Accountability is a fetter upon us. A fetter is a form of threat to control. We have no emotional empathy for other people. Quite simply, we don't care that we hurt somebody because we are knocking the hip out of somebody else behind that person's back or making the beast with two backs with somebody else. We naturally engage with other people because sexual infidelity or emotional infidelity, financial infidelity, intellectual infidelity, however it manifests, is a form of asserting control over another person. Of course, sexual infidelity is the one that most people get themselves upset about, and narcissists regularly use sex as a weapon of mass seduction. Do see my book, Sex and the Narcissist. After you've picked up your jaw off the floor, then you'll find yourself learning so much more about the way that the narcissist functions. We use sex to gain fuel and to assert control, and with that it means that we will invariably shag a barber's floor. Not all narcissists behave that way, of course, but it's often seen with the somatic and elite cadres. Infidelity occurs because the intimate partner primary source finds themselves in a sustained devaluation. And therefore, the narcissism essentially says this: they've let us down. They have been an unreliable appliance. And therefore, you are allowed to go and see other people because, after all, they've let you down first. It's almost in a way that the narcissism looks at it as a form of contract and says that there has been a repudiatory breach by the other party, which releases you now from this contract and you can go elsewhere. Of course, that repudiatory breach is in the perception of the narcissist. The victim actually hasn't done anything. They've continued to be the same, but their fuel has become stale, or they've not been providing as often or as plentiful as they should do as per the narcissist's requirements, which means they go into that sustained devaluation. And in so doing, the narcissist then looks upon them subconsciously as having let them down, and therefore the narcissism decrees, they've let you down, you're released from your obligations of fidelity. They're no longer worth treating well. And of course, a variety of devaluations occur, one of which is often the narcissist goes and cheats. That's because the narcissist can assert control over somebody else using sex, and they're no longer constrained from doing so out of any need to keep the other party under control because they're no longer in that golden period. Furthermore, the narcissism also causes cheating to occur because it may well be the case that the hunt for the replacement has begun. Just because a narcissist cheats with somebody doesn't mean that they're automatically going to be the intimate partner primary source. They could just say as a dirty little secret, or an intimate partner secondary source of a shelf variety. So the narcissist continues an affair and doesn't make them the primary source, stays with their wife whilst having quick bunk-ups with their secretary somewhere, or somebody they met online, or a variety of different people that they keep meeting online. No disengagement trigger, so the incumbent spouse stays in place, but they continue to cheat on them left, right, and centre because that incumbent spouse is in the devaluation period. When it comes to Harry's wife, we know that she's had 2, possibly 3 marriages. We know that she's had a number of relationships. Tom Bauer, in revenge, touched upon them. And of course, one of the relationships she had was with the Canadian celebrity chef and restaurateur Corey Vitiello. Now, it's evident that she cheated on him, that she committed infidelity. Corey was her intimate partner primary source, which meant that at that juncture he was the easiest person to control, that provided most of the fuel that she required, character traits, and residual benefits. Indeed, much of her foodie character trait acquisition will have come from Corey, as him being a chef. Corey, like any intimate partner primary source, found himself in a sustained devaluation. This meant that Harry's wife could go and look elsewhere in terms of flirtation, sexual activity, whispered promises of further action, however form it might take. As a consequence of some detective work that's been undertaken by Meghan Markle on the Reddit site St. Harry's Wife, they use her actual name, as you know I don't say that, and therefore credit must be given for that, for the purposes of then utilising that information and putting it through the lens of narcissism. As you know, I always tell you to go to the evidence, and then we interpret that evidence through understanding that she is a narcissist. And you will see that the first screenshot provides you with, a Instagram post by Corey Vitiello on the 1st of May 2016 saying, "Lunch with my lady." So he's gone out for lunch with Harry's wife. And on the same day, the circular from Kensington Palace tells us Prince Henry of Wales this evening departed from Heathrow Airport, London, for Canada, and later arrived at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Indeed, turning up with bollocks like space hoppers, no doubt, in need of those pink pods being drained. And he'll have met up with Harry's wife. So she was having lunch with her boyfriend, and then she met up with Harry later that evening. So, as a consequence of that, Vitiello had no idea that his girlfriend would be getting spliced by old ginger bollocks, and she was engaging in that infidelity. There's further information that comes to light, courtesy of this digging around that's been done, with a further post which comes from Harry's wife's Instagram, where she shows the contents of a meal and explains that her mother's in town, and therefore she goes out for dinner and they eat at Corey's restaurant. This is in July. So at this juncture, they're eating at Corey's restaurant, and therefore her mum must have known that old ginger bollocks was slipping her a crippler. So she's complicit in the chicanery that's going on. There's also identified that there's been some updating taking place of the Harry's wife's Wikipedia entry. You'll see that originally that it shows an overlap, because it talks about, and you'll see the highlighted areas in red, that there was a subsequent relationship between Harry's wife and celebrity chef and restaurateur Corey Vitiello, which ended in July 2016, and then explains that in June 2016, Harry's wife began a relationship with old ginger bollocks. So that demonstrates that there was an overlap based upon that. But then you'll see that this has been updated to try and smother the fact that she was cheating on him. And it shows this time that apparently the relationship ended in May 2016, after almost 2 years, and then the relationship with Ginger Bollocks began in July 2016, and therefore putting a bit of breathing space between the two relationships. We know, of course, as a consequence of the detective work of Meghan Markle, that first of all, that's been changed, and it's clear from the first screenshot that I provided you that in May 2016 she was meeting up with Harry, and therefore there was not only an overlap but also that it was taking place when she spent time with Corey. It wasn't a case of her being away from him. She'd had lunch with him that day, no doubt cooing and all the rest around him, perhaps giving him a respite period, and then that evening hooks up with Harry. Clear evidence of cheating, and of course unsurprising when it comes to the conduct of a narcissist. But we also know during her period of her relationship with Corey Vitiello, as per what Tom Bauer told us in Revenge, that she was hanging around, or hanging off really, the Irish golfer Rory McIlroy. And they were seen to be very cosy indeed, and spent quite a lot of time together over the course of a day or two, which again supports that it's highly likely that Corey, being in a period of devaluation, she was at the minimum, flirting with Rory McIlroy and possibly engaging in more. Furthermore, she also was looking at pursuing Ashley Cole, who then didn't express any great interest. Furthermore, I would imagine that Piers Morgan was being led to believe that he had a chance with her, even though, of course, he's married. Now, of course, he's a narcissist as well, so his own narcissism would have taken him to believe that he had a shot at Harry's wife. So while she was seeing Corey, it's clear that there was overlap with old Ginger Bollocks. It's the case that she was cheating in some shape or form in relation to Rory McIlroy, that she was making eyes at Ashley Cole and also Piers Morgan, and possibly other people that we don't know about. There's also the suggestion that there was involvement with NHL Toronto Maple Leaf star Michael Del Zotto. So not only does this demonstrate the nature of the fact that Corey was in a sustained devaluation and the narcissist cheats, but it also shows the lies that have been told and the attempt to cover this up with a retrospective adjustment of history to try and suggest that there was a gap between Corey and Prince Harry. Now, also bear in mind this. What is it that Harry's wife does best? Well, it's, of course, she uses her spicy poontang to draw in unsuspecting males, suck them dry, both figuratively and literally, and then, having no further use for them, she disengages from them and moves on to the next person. Clearly, Corey had passed his sell-by date, and as a consequence of that, he was in sustained devaluation, and she starts basically sniffing around for his replacement, messing around with McIlroy, making eyes at Cole, potentially making eyes at Morgan, the getting hot and heavy with Del Zotto, who apparently wasn't that interested in her and therefore got rid, which will have wounded her. But eventually, of course, eyes on the main prize, Ginger Bollocks comes into view, and her narcissism convinces her that she utterly adores him, that he's absolutely magnificent, and that he is the man for her. All done, of course, because then he can be ensnared, pump out the fuel, and provide massive character trait and residual benefits for her. That's what's happening. This demonstrates very clearly the commission of infidelity by the narcissist, which of course is no surprise, but marrying the evidence and understanding narcissism, you get a better understanding of what drives the narcissist to behave in this way, and the purpose it serves for the narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.